Justice served man convicted for brutal hate crime murder of Palestinian-American boy. On a quiet October morning in Plainfield, Illinois, a heinous act of violence shattered a family and sent shockwaves across the nation. 6-year-old Wadea Al-Fayoume, a Palestinian-American boy, was brutally stabbed to death in what authorities labeled a hate crime. His mother, Hanan Shaheen, barely survived the attack, left wounded and traumatized. The crime, fueled by Islamophobia and anti-Palestinian sentiment, occurred in the midst of rising tensions surrounding the Israel-Gaza conflict. The convicted killer, Joseph Czuba, a 71-year-old landlord, was someone the family had trusted. Yet, on that fateful day, he turned against them in a violent outburst. His conviction serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of hate-driven violence in America. As the nation grapples with the realities of growing xenophobia, this case stands as a crucial milestone in the fight for justice. Wadea Al-Fayoume was a joyful, energetic 6-year-old boy who loved playing with toys and spending time with his mother. Born to Palestinian immigrants, he was growing up in Plainfield, Illinois, where his family had hoped to build a peaceful and secure future. Wadea was described by those who knew him as a bright and loving child, full of innocence and promise. His mother, Hanan Shaheen, worked tirelessly to provide for her son. She had built a modest life in the United States, believing in the country's values of safety and freedom. She and Wadea had been renting a unit in the home of Joseph Czuba for some time, and despite their different backgrounds, she never expected what was to come. Their story is one of a family simply trying to live their lives, until hatred came knocking at their door, changing everything forever. On the morning of October 14th, 2023, what should have been a normal day for Wadea Al-Fayoume and his mother turned into a nightmare. Joseph Czuba, their 71-year-old landlord, knocked on their door, and within moments, a violent attack unfolded. According to authorities, Czuba had been consumed by anti-Muslim rhetoric and fear-mongering surrounding the Israel-Gaza conflict. He accused Hanan Shaheen and her son of being a threat despite their peaceful existence in his home. Without warning, he pulled out a serrated military-style knife and lunged at Hanan, stabbing her more than a dozen times. As she fought to escape, her son Wadea ran toward her, terrified. Instead of stopping, Czuba turned his rage toward the innocent child. Wadea was stabbed 26 times, his small body unable to withstand the brutal attack. His mother, bleeding and in shock, managed to call 911. When police arrived, they found Wadea lifeless and his mother clinging to survival. Authorities described the crime scene as one of unimaginable horror. The attack was so violent that when Czuba was taken into custody, he showed no remorse, instead blaming the victims for his own misguided fears. His chilling words after the attack: they were sending messages. The murder of Wadea Al-Fayoume was not just a random act of violence, it was a hate crime fueled by ignorance and bigotry, an innocent child's life taken in an act of pure brutality. Law enforcement arrived at the scene within minutes of Hanan Shaheen's desperate 911 call. Officers found her gravely wounded, struggling to explain what had just happened. In the next room, the body of 6-year-old Wadea lay motionless, covered in stab wounds. The crime was so shocking that even seasoned investigators were horrified. Joseph Czuba was immediately taken into custody without resistance. When questioned, he provided chilling justifications for his actions, blaming his victims for a conflict happening thousands of miles away. Authorities later revealed that Czuba had been radicalized by misinformation and anti-Muslim conspiracy theories. He had told his wife the day before the attack that Muslims were dangerous and expressed paranoia about his Palestinian-American tenants. The local sheriff's office and the FBI quickly labelled the murder a hate crime, stating that Wadea was targeted simply because of his identity. The gruesome nature of the crime and its clear racial and religious motivations made it a high-profile case, drawing national attention. As Hanan Shaheen fought for her life in the hospital, prosecutors began building their case against Czuba. His arrest marked the beginning of a legal battle that would test the justice system's stance on hate-driven violence. The trial of Joseph Czuba was one of the most closely watched hate crime cases in recent history. Prosecutors wasted no time in laying out the horrific details of the attack, arguing that it was premeditated and fueled by anti-Muslim sentiment. They presented damning evidence, including forensic reports, witness testimonies, and Czuba's own words. One of the most powerful moments of the trial came when Hanan Shaheen took the stand. Still recovering from her injuries, she recounted in harrowing detail how Czuba had turned on them, stabbing her repeatedly before taking her son's life. Her voice broke as she described Wadea's final moments, his screams of terror and his desperate attempt to run to safety. The prosecution also highlighted Czuba's radicalization, presenting social media activity and statements from his family that showed his growing paranoia. They argued that he had been influenced by Islamophobic rhetoric and had taken out his fears on an innocent child. The defense, on the other hand, attempted to paint Czuba as mentally unstable, arguing that he was confused and acted out of fear rather than hatred. They pushed for a lesser charge, claiming that he was not fully aware of his actions. However, the jury was unconvinced. The overwhelming evidence combined with the sheer brutality of the crime left no doubt in their minds. It was not a random act of violence, it was a targeted, hate-driven murder. After days of emotional testimony and overwhelming evidence, the jury reached a unanimous decision. Joseph Czuba was found guilty of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and committing a hate crime. The verdict was met with a mix of relief and sorrow. Justice had been served, but it could never bring back 6-year-old Wadea Al-Fayoume. During the sentencing hearing, prosecutors pushed for the maximum penalty, emphasizing the brutality of the crime and its hateful motivation. Czuba showed no remorse as the judge read his sentence. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom was silent as Wadea's family absorbed the weight of the decision. For Hanan Shaheen, no punishment could undo the pain she endured. Her son was gone forever. But the conviction sent a clear message. Hate-driven violence has no place in society, and those who commit such crimes will face justice. The murder of Wadea Al-Fayoume and the conviction of Joseph Czuba sparked outrage and deep reflection across the country. Civil rights organizations, Muslim advocacy groups, and Palestinian-American communities rallied together, condemning the crime and demanding stronger protections against hate-fueled violence.
Check one, check.
Leaders from the Council on American Islamic Relations and other advocacy groups called for urgent action against rising Islamophobia, pointing to this case as a tragic example of how misinformation and fear-mongering can lead to deadly consequences. Protests and vigils were held across major cities, with thousands gathering to mourn Wadea and call for justice. Even the president addressed the case, calling the attack horrific and stating that no child should ever be targeted because of their race or religion. Many hoped that this tragedy would serve as a wake-up call, forcing the nation to confront its deep-seated issues of hate and prejudice. Wadea Al-Fayoume's murder reignited discussions about hate crime laws in the United States. Advocacy groups pushed for stronger federal protections, citing a rise in anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian attacks. Lawmakers in Illinois and beyond began reviewing existing legislation, with some proposing harsher penalties for hate-motivated crimes. The brutal murder of Wadea Al-Fayoume was a heartbreaking reminder of the devastating consequences of hate. His life was taken not because of anything he did, but simply because of who he was. While the conviction of Joseph Czuba provided some measure of justice, it could never undo the pain felt by Wadea's family and community. This case forced the nation to confront the growing threat of hate crimes and the dangers of misinformation. As the world remembers Wadea, his story must serve as a call to action, to fight against hatred and ensure that no other innocent life is lost to violence. If you found this story important, make sure to like, share and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth reports on justice, crime and human rights. Let's keep the conversation going. Drop your thoughts in the comments below.